Matt Eberflus is extremely confident that Gervon Dexter is ready to make the leap for the Chicago Bears this upcoming season. We're going to talk about why that may be. We're also going to look at a player that Bleacher Report listed as the Bears' secret weapon on their defense. And overall, we're going to look at why the defense is set to have a big season. We're going to get all that plus a little bit of mailbag right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content, y'all. And for those that have been around here for a while, you guys may know that I am a defense guy. And while the Chicago Bears offense has seen the biggest facelift of anything on the team, there are more than enough reasons to believe that this Chicago Bears defense is going to be legit this upcoming year. We'll talk about the reasons why statistically towards the end of this show. But I want to start this off by talking about Matt Eberflus and his comments in regards to Gervon Dexter and the confidence that he has coming into the Gervon Dexter. Matt Eberflus saying this in regards to the Gervon Dexter. I noticed the body composition first. It's really good. He changed his body in the time he was off. He's much leaner now, and he's quicker. That was one of the things he had to work on, and then pad level, because he's just such a big guy, tall guy, and he's worked on those things. But his movement, his athletic ability is even better now because he's really worked on his body. We've said and talked about the fact that the Bears did not go out there and get a 3-tech, right? And the 3-tech is one of the most important positions in Matt Eberflus's defensive scheme. And because of that, things kind of shifted towards looking at Gervon Dexter and the leap that he has to be able to make, especially considering the Bears also did not go out and get a big name edge in free agency or in the draft. It really kind of has shifted all eyes to Gervon Dexter and a lot like Austin Booker's as he goes over his development. But Gervon Dexter having a big season for the Chicago Bears could be hugely important to what this defense ultimately can be this season. Now, of course, having Montez Sweat for a full season cannot hurt. We'll talk about that a little bit when we talk about the overall stats of the defense as well. But the development that Gervon Dexter has made could be why the Bears did not feel like they needed to go out there and get a 3-tech. You look at it last year, he played around 312 pounds. And with Matt Eberflus saying that his body composition has improved a lot, the difference in helping his agility and his quickness, especially that get off, could really help a whole lot this season. And so you look at how Gervon Dexter played towards the end of last season, right? Having 2.5 sacks. I think that all came after the addition of Montez Sweat. The increased role and snaps that he played as well towards the end of that season. All things kind of now point towards Gervon Dexter making that step for the Chicago Bears. And so it's good to hear that Matt Eberflus, even through like OTAs and the little bit of things that we have so far, really it stood out how he's gone out and reshaped his body over offseason. So I think that Gervon Dexter embracing that, understanding that that's what he needs to fix, as well as the pad level things, right, that helps with the get off and things like that. This could be a very big season for Gervon Dexter in his second year for the Chicago Bears. He's coming in expected to be that starting defensive tackle there on the other side of Andrew Billings. And so development for Gervon Dexter is going to be huge. And I do think that the edge position and potentially a 3-tech could be things that the Bears try to address next year in the draft if they don't feel confident in what Gervon Dexter's bringing. And to a lesser extent, Zach Pickens as well. The fact that the Bears, didn't get a defensive tackle to pass him up on the depth chart either really brought in a additional defensive tackles to play behind him. We'll see how Keith Randolph ends up facing off the undrafted rookies. Well, I do think he plays a part into this rotation also, but it says a lot about how what the confidence level is from Matt Eberflus, from Ryan Poles in their two rookies from last season at that defensive tackle position. So, Eric Washington is going to be a big part of the evaluation there as well, because he's somebody who likes developing players, right? He's really good at that, and he makes a lot of rotations on that defensive line. This could be a year where the step that Gervon Dexter takes all kind of coincides with the right coaching staff to be invested in him, even though Matt Eberflus was already that. The increased role now because you lose Justin Jones and they didn't bring up anybody to pass him up on the depth chart. This is a offseason where Gervon Dexter has to put his stamp on that defensive line and hold on to that position and show what he can bring. Bringing in interior pressure from that defensive line, from Gervon Dexter, from Billings, from Zach Pickens, especially considering you have DeMarcus Walker out on the edge with Montez Sweat on the opposite side. could be the difference between the Bears getting to the quarterback a lot more than what they did to start off last season. And if they do that, you guys know I really think that this Bears defense is going to be one of the early things to shine from the team because of the continuity and the returning players that you have there, but also because of the expectation level around that defense and where they finished off last season. So I think all those things kind of shape up to a big season expected for Gervon Dexter. And let's hope that he steps into that and understands everything that he needs to bring there. And if Gervon Dexter, with dropping, fixing his body composition, being more agile, as well as still keeping enough of that strength and the quickness, we could see a really big season from Gervon Dexter. And I think that this is going to be one where, hopefully a lot of Bears fans and the Bears coaches see enough from him to that he stands out as that 3-tech of the future for the Chicago Bears. We know that Billings is a veteran, a little bit longer in the tooth, those type of things. I think he signed a 2-year deal, and that does not abstain the Bears from maybe next year in the draft going after tackles or whatever. But Gervon Dexter, this is his year to really make his move and put his stamp on the Chicago Bears team. Now, I'm talking about stamps, right? Bleacher Report named TJ Edwards as the Chicago Bears' secret weapon, namely calling out the fact that Tremaine Edmunds is the one who got the big contract last year in free agency. But in a lot of ways, it was TJ Edwards who really stepped up a lot for the Chicago Bears. Not to say that Tremaine Edmunds had a bad season either. He did not. But, especially considering the injuries and things that he dealt with. But TJ Edwards, last season, 155 total tackles, a career high, 3 interceptions on top of that, and 7 passes deflected as well. TJ Edwards had a big season for the Bears. And when you look at the expectation coming along with this team as well, it really adds a lot to that. So TJ Edwards is here to really have, the linebacking core overall, right? I think this is a really big position group. And we saw them improve over last season and not really have a chance to have the continuity that we had hoped for with Tremaine Edmunds' injury and things like that. But I think, with TJ Edwards playing all 17 games last season, having 8 tackles for a loss on top of those 3 interceptions and passes deflected as well, you have a full season now of Tremaine Edmunds with better pressure from that defensive line, having Montez Sweat there the whole season as well. This linebacking core is going to be continuing the expectation that we have of Chicago Bear linebacking core when the defense is good, right? This is a really good position group for the Bears. And, while the secondary has been something we've raved about a lot here at Chicago Bears Central, me, C-Dub, and Bobby, and Steve and Kev when they're on, the linebacking core is a really big another sticking point for this defense that if they can stay healthy and they can play really well, keep in mind their first season as well, and even TJ Edwards dealt with his own kind of, ups and downs at the start of that season, right? But then really kind of became that calming factor for the Chicago Bears and became very consistent. And when you look at a Bears defense that moved on from Roquan Smith in 2022, we turned that linebacking core immediately around in one offseason, and we brought in Edmunds and Edwards, added that to Jack Sanborn, who was a full-time starter last season for the Bears as well for the first time. There's enough reason to believe in what they already showed with extra now continuity and having, the changes in that defense with Eric Washington being that defensive coordinator now there and another season of Matt Eberflus, who kind of knows all these guys an additional year. There's more than enough reason to expect them to take a step up. There's enough of that. The whole defensive unit really should be able to take a step up from what they did last season, mainly because of that continuity and things like that. So you're really looking at that as well. Tremaine Edmunds with 113 total tackles, TJ Edwards with 115 total tackles. Jack Sanborn had 65 total tackles, 1 sack as well in that time, and 7 tackles for a loss. But all these players now being together for longer, right? An additional offseason, really understand how they can cover each other a little bit more and some of that. This linebacking core is another big-time group for the Chicago Bears that I think we got to look at and have high expectations early in the season because, again, they have that continuity there, and especially with Jack Sanborn being on that strong side. Hopefully we see a year kind of him better on that strong side of the defense. I thought last season he kind of played better at middle linebacker. Once Tremaine went down, he eventually had to move back to that strong side. But having those guys there who can play all those positions, Micah Baskerville as well as another guy as a depth piece, Noah Sewell, I think expecting him to take a step up as well. All those things are things that you can understand and expect. And then we also brought in Amin as well in that linebacking core. So he's still 25 years old. So we have a lot of really youth plus that are still veterans enough, right, in that linebacking core that you have huge reasons to believe that this Bears defense is going to be the reason, and the linebacking core is going to be a big part of that. But overall, in looking at this defense, what are some of the reasons to be really confident about the defense at the start of the season? And of course, the first one is the thing that I touched on a little bit here, and that is the secondary. The secondary of this team is one of the things that you have to look at in that defense, that the expectations has to be high right away, especially even with Kevin Byard coming in as Eddie Jackson's replacement. And, Eddie Jackson, the contract per the performance, that's what threw things into kind of limbo with Eddie Jackson and why the Bears needed to move on. And Kevin Byard should be, at least on paper, the perfect complement next to Jaquan Brisker. You add that, that's your safeties, right? Then you add to that your starting cornerback core of Jalen Johnson and Tyreek Stevenson and Kyler Gordon coming into that as well. We have the continuity as well. And that's the buzzword here, right? In that secondary, that the big expectations for them are going to be there day one, and they got to find a way to live up to that as well. So Terrell Smith is another one that, he showed a lot. He even stepped up big time when he was called in to be a starter and needed to step up as that starter for the Chicago Bears. So a really high expectations for that secondary to be great to start the season, right? And so, that's one of the reasons that I'm looking at first. That young, talented secondary filled full of like four-year players in like Jalen Johnson, but then outside of that, second, third-year players that are going to be big parts of that for the Chicago Bears defense. And then when you look at also how the Bears defense finished, right? Let's talk about that. The Bears had, through the first 8 games, they allowed a passer rating of 99.6. Over the final 9 games, the Bears had only allowed an average passer rating of 74.9. That's how much things stepped up for the Chicago Bears last year. We finished 12th on defense on top of that. Then when you look at we were tied for first in interceptions with 22nd. And the fact that we only had 6 through the first 10 games, we finished the season that strong with getting takeaways. That's another reason that you have to expect. The Chicago Bears last season as well, 10 sacks after 8 games and 30 after finish week 17. Again, we clearly got better with the addition of Montez Sweat, but it was more than just that as well. So the Bears have this thing that they left off with, this really extremely solid defense, and we got to continue to build on that. And the fact that, Bear opponents just did not pass effectively against the Chicago Bears to end the season. You need to build off on that. And there's more than enough reason to think, with the things that we named here, that the Bears have the ability to do that. And again, so with those additions that we talked about in the secondary coming in here, you got to get that. And this Bears defense is not going to be one that is complacent. They're out there to improve and to show that they're some of the best in the division, that they're some of the best in the NFL. A strong finish is something great to build off on. The confidence that this Bears team had at the end of the season is big reasons to do that. And so hopefully that over this time to start the season, the Bears really continue what we've already seen and what's been proven to be true. This Bears defense finished the season more than legit. And I get it, where things were for the Chicago Bears as far as the overall finishing numbers. But when you really start looking at the breakdown of how strong this Bears team finished over the last 9 weeks of the season, it's strong. And so that's one thing you got to build off on. If you're looking at Matt Eberflus, Eric Washington, we really got to do that. And Matt Eberflus even saying this: our defense played well down the stretch. We all know that. We anticipate coming off to a fast start. We certainly wanted to have that. That's what you need. This Bears, they're returning 10 out of 11 starters last year. So the fact that you have the continuity and you finish the season with momentum, this Bears defense has to pick up off that momentum and get back to doing that right away to start the season to help alleviate some of the maybe growing pains that might be there for the offense. We'll see if it's going to be there, but they have to be able to build off of that. And so that's why this defense is one of the things that we got to look forward to being the best to start this season off and to see what they can bring for the Chicago Bears. But we also got a voicemail I want to get into today that kind of talks about a little bit of this as well. This one's from Marifa Assad. Let's go ahead and play that now.
Bobby, C-Dub, hey, what's happening, fellas? It's your man, Marifa Assad. Black yet again, man, coming into CBC to do my thing. Listen, man, I'm calling in to talk about the weakest position group that I think on the Chicago Bears going in, and that's the defensive line. The defensive line got the most questionable position group on the team right now. And the only reason I say that is because they got unproven depth behind Montez Sweat. Okay? Now, this is the NFL, so you know defensive coordinators, or offensive coordinators rather, they're going to prepare how to stop your best defensive player on your team, okay? So they're going to double team Montez Sweat, which means DeMarcus Walker, he got to get it done, or Gervon Dexter got to get it done, or Austin Booker got to get it done on one-on-ones, okay? If they can't beat a one-on-one matchup, man, we ain't getting no pressure on the quarterback, okay? So you putting all of this stress and pressure on Montez Sweat to be dominant on every single down. Now, I ain't questioning he can do it. Now, what happens if Montez go down? God forbid that Montez go down for any amount of time on the injury. We don't know, but we got to have these other guys step up, man. They got to step up to the plate and be able to deliver that pressure on a consistent basis and sack that quarterback, okay? So we can't put it all on Montez's shoulder and depend on him to do every goddamn thing. We need the other team players on the defensive line to step up and do their part. So what y'all think, man? Listen, man, I'm going to let y'all go ahead and talk about it. I'm going to get on up out of here, man, because I got place to go. I got people to see. I got a plane to catch, man. I'm getting up out the country. I'm about to go over here and sip on something nice on the beach and watch me some waves somewhere on Memorial Day weekend. Y'all brothers be safe out there. All right, it's your man, Marifo, saying, Chicago up and bear down, baby. Let's go.
Listen, I get what you're saying about the Bears defense, and that is why I did, earlier in this episode, talked about how the Bears finished last season with that strong defensive attack. They finished the season really strong. 10 sacks after 8 games, 30 after 17 games. The Bears' pressure got better last season, and we have to see the development from Gervon Dexter. We need to see that. We got to see DeMarcus Walker step up. And Austin Booker, who the Bears have already said is not outside the realm of possibility of him earning a starting role for this team, we got to see him step up as well. The Bears defense, as a guy who, I get it, the offense is the shiny new thing, and the offense should be great as well. There's no wrong in having expectations for this Bears offense to be excellent to finish this season. But the defense needs to be excellent to start the season and build off what they did. Slow starts for this defense. Teams can get off to slow starts. We've seen teams that have been together longer than the Bears and have performed better than the Bears over time, still get off to slow starts. But hopefully the Bears can avoid that. If they can avoid a slow start here, right, and have those players that you mentioned on that defensive line especially step up, get pressure on the quarterback. Sacks are the easiest thing to judge that, but pressure. That's all I want is consistent pressure to where opposing quarterbacks can't get comfortable just sitting in the pocket. We got to put that on. When you get pressure from your defensive line, it helps the linebacking core, which thus helps the secondary. Everything it's synergy throughout all 3 levels of that defense, but it kind of starts with that pressure from that defensive line. And having Montez Sweat to start the season raises the expectations of everything around it, even with the Bears not going out and getting a big-time edge or 3-tech in this offseason. So, we gotta hope that Gervon Dexter in some ways becomes that big-name 3-tech, right? His development is hugely important this season. And it's going to be something that I'm going to watch, right? I'm going to be on Rookie Watch as well. That may be something that we have reoccurring every single week where we look at the performance of the rookies, especially with the number 1 overall pick, Caleb Williams, being coming in town. But outside of that, the development, right? To see how Jack Sanborn continues to develop, right? Especially being an undrafted rookie. Noah Sewell, a guy that a lot of people had expectations to, didn't get a whole lot of a time or opportunity, between injuries and other things, but he has expectations as well coming into the season with his performance. This Bears defense has to attack. Kevin Byard, looking at him to fit really good with Jaquan Brisker as well. Jaquan, I miss talking about him. He's another guy. He has to build off on the things that he's already done solid enough to continue to be better, because we need better from a Jaquan Brisker as well. Not just the shit talking, which I like and appreciate, but even better than that. We got to continue to see this team step up in these ways. And that's why you get episodes like this, completely in 100% defensive focus, touch a little bit on the offense, but high expectations for this defense to start the season. And I think that a lot of Bears fans are going to share that expectation. A Bears defense this year that starts off strong can help so much with everything, even the offense, right? And, I kind of, you guys know, I'm kind of more level-headed. I expect some growing pains from this offense to start, despite some people having kind of this Madden-like approach to it. But we'll see what this team brings, and the defense is going to be a big part of that. And we're still the Chicago Bears, right? Yes, we're a team that wants to become more modern offensively, but we still have that expectation of the defensive excellence of the Chicago Bears and hope that we continue to bring that. But, guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you guys are following the show at Chi Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns. ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. Peace, y'all.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.